absolute just rags to riches princess story tale. I don't even know what the correct analogy would be, but here we are. We're in the pick bands of the finals. Rgisosceles versus Faiman. First bans are coming through. Faiman saw what this Turok was able to accomplish, potentially thinking about bringing it down early on.
An absolute beast. The Corrin on the field. Mr. Deer Boy. I mean, the goatee. aka Moflank, rather. Moflank, we see a lot of play in Corrin. Unfortunately, faded into the shadow. Unfortunately, his kit's just not as good as the Moflanks. But Faiman seems to be proving everybody wrong. Kinu is banned out, though. But look at this. Running the quadruple tank strat. Calibus, Cerny, Saku, and the Corrin. All tanky monsters on this team.
Yeah, and then on Isosceles' side, Calibus is the only toxic Tem, and he doesn't have any fires to deal with Cerny, Saku. He doesn't have any melees either for Wolfie or Corrin. So, I mean, I think Lawali is going to have a lot to do here. I think Calibus is going to have a lot to do here. I think Faiman's squad has a bit of a type advantage early on in pick bans, but absolutely type advantage does not mean you win the game. We've seen it before. We've seen nature squads defeat fire squads. The finals is where it's going to happen, if ever. And Isosceles does lead this Kinu Lawali. Faiman potentially thinking about Saku Cerny as his lead.
Lawali, a very, very solid mid-range Tem. Once again, one of the highest stat ranges in the game. Absolute monster. I believe, checking at the stats, the fourth highest stat total in the game. Only 12 points behind Yowler, which is number 1. And only... I mean, Yowler is... To be fair, Yowler is 9 points ahead of Tataru, which is only 2 points ahead of Lawali. Or 3 points ahead of Lawali. So, don't take Yowler too much. But to summarize... Lawali's stars are pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I mean, adding to it that resin trap, it is the way to beat this Corrin. It stands a pretty good chance against Mashuk with Hypoxia, as well as Calibus, but I mean, for this Cerny Saku, I don't know what Isosceles has in store. It might just have to be the very speedy Grandpa and Momo to just try and get it all done. But I mean, Cerny Saku can just stall out the entire game, and it won't matter how much damage you can output if you can't, I mean, just take them down and stall as well.
Momo is picked up here. I mean, we saw how much it did on Rgisosceles' team. If you're a tank, well, I mean, Momo just says tank this, right? Especially with Bark being able to rip through defenses like that. I mean, Kinu, eat your heart out. Bark stopping anything like that, and Faiman might actually go for the quad tank here. Picked up Corrin, so if Calibus is chosen here, only Barnchi is squishy, but Barnchi dishes out a lot of damage himself, and having 4 tanks is not a problem, especially if they're able to slowly at least do impactful damage. And if Rgisosceles goes for a faster pace and Faiman just slows it right down, suddenly Rgisosceles might be in a very rough position. We'll have to see. First game comes through, ladies and gentlemen. Rgisosceles versus Faiman. We'll see who takes game 1.
Yeah, and Isosceles decides to leave the Naga behind for the Turok. Says all of these nature Tems, I don't really want to bring a water Tem with me. So I guess I'll do some earth, which is also weak, but maybe it'll work. We'll see how it goes. But right now, everybody in this turn 1 is a nature type. Kinu, mental nature. Lawali, wind nature. Saku, wind nature. Cerny, nature. And it is nature once again that attacks this Kinu.
I love
doing
trees.
Anything. But Beta Burst
comes out.
Fights back for the Cerny, does just a little bit more. Combine that with the Hypoxia, I definitely think Lawali can output more damage than the Saku, but Toxic Spores over time will always do the damage. We'll never be able to avoid it.
Take care of your environment, everybody, because this is exactly what happens. Rgisosceles will be swapping out the Lawali, of course, trying to get some damage out, and the Grandpa will be doing so. The Cerny as well already low, so the HKS will be bringing that shutdown if it does stay in. But Revitalize, of course, healing you by 40%. Get your damage out of here, or 35%, I believe. So, just getting that heal up and nice. But still, HKS into Beta Burst might actually just still kill Cerny outright. Special defense not set up at all here, and I mean that's the ideal way to deal with your Cerny enemies.
Yeah, but even if he's able to knock down Cerny, what are we gonna do for this Saku? Saku, Toxic Spores, Lifeful Sap, Bark Shield, Tornado, very often used. I mean, Tornado would hurt Kinu, Toxic Spores would hurt everything, and Lifeful Sap, Bark Shield will make Saku the tank it was born to be. And then Faiman still has this Barnshi in the back. We saw in the semifinals how much damage a Barnshi can do to Rgisosceles' team, especially going unchecked or even with constant pressure. With, I mean, I think it took 3 turns of doubling in for Barnshi to go down last time.
Oh, sacrifice outright! Absolute mad lad purges off the poison, buffs up the Grandpa, puts his eggs in the wind basket. HKS will not come out. It is Hypnosis, and the Saku is shut down. Reads that the Cerny might potentially swap out, and that's excellent. Saku can't put poison ticks in Barnshi. He says, "Hi, Mr. Birdman. Now you've got a butterfly as well to face against." And what a sacrifice that was. We'll see if the investment pays off.
Yeah, I mean, that's another early sacrifice. I've seen Rgisosceles do that a couple of times now. Just saying, you know what, this Kinu, it's probably not going to do that much for me, so I'll just try to get the sacrifice now. But I think Kinu still had more to give. I think, you know, more turbo choreographies, some revitalizes down the line with Lawali. I think the Kinu could have had an impact. But I mean, definitely giving Gramps +2/+2 defense, special defense, and speed from the earlier turbo choreography. Oh, but Calibus comes on in.
It's double wind! Chamomile will be applied, of course, so that the Calibus won't be hurt too much. The Cerny comes in as well. A single HKS will absolutely body, but a turbo instead is used. This Grandpa is going at maximum overdrive. He's red as a Ferrari, baby. Maximum speed it goes, and the Lawali at quadruple, or rather, well, triple the speed, but 4 times the stages. These flyers are fearsome.
Yeah, and that one turn, now Gramps has the strongest HKSs you're going to see this side of the Nile. And Lawali +4. I mean, Hypoxia is always going to go first now against, I mean, it was going to go first against Calibus anyway, but now Resin Trap will beat out Korin. It'll be able to Hypoxia Cerny if it can do whatever it wants to Barnshi. This speed control with no Nagas on the board is going to be massive. And Faiman says, you know what? Maybe not this time. I'm going to bring Korin in instead. Try to eat this HKS, but it goes into the Cerny 83-17.
Oh, and Hypoxia are going to make sure that the assist is there. Cerny does go down, and look at these fast behemoths. Karin is here. He says hi. Isn't a scavenger because the clock did not come out. So it is, in fact, Skull Helmet.
Yeah, so now Calibus comes back out again. I mean, is Calibus here to try and bait the techniques to go his way? I mean, it works. He stays in. He takes the Windburst. He takes the Hypoxia. Calibus, another tank, falls down to 0.
Tank who? Stone Ball is coming out as well. It does quarter damage to Lawali. Karin, this is why, I mean, unfortunately, Karin is not the ideal pickup for a tank. It does its best for damage, but Lawali, it's just too strong. And the concede comes out. Rgisosceles' opening is just too formidable. Karin, I wouldn't say Karin is the best way to buy you some time, especially to set up.
I have to imagine that Faiman was expecting a swap in there, because I mean, a strange vest Luwali just doesn't mind a stone. It doesn't even think about stone balls. It wasn't even tickled. It just kind of went
It
on
was
with its
according
day,
damage.
as
Yeah.
if a feather flew past in the wind, and it glanced over and said, "Oh, that's a nice feather," and kept going on its way. And that was the stone ball. But now into pick bands, we have Kinu Grandpa lead this time. Faiman starting off with the Cerny again. We still had same bands, I believe, with Barnshi and Kinu. But now Wolfie this time, instead of the Saku, is the second Tem picked. And now second ban, I mean, he could go for Barnshi if Rgisosceles wanted to. Definitely
Faiman.
get rid of some of that pressure.
Rgisosceles removed here from Rgisosceles. Okay, gets rid of that menace. And now Luwali removed. That is a respect ban if I've ever seen one. I would have never thought of banning Luwali there, but absolutely says, you know what? Your Luwali's kind of OP. Let me get rid of that. Picks up the Saku as well, so opens with a bit more damage this time, but also has that Saku to tank up. But again, that Luwali ban, absolute respect. Just saying, all right, I admit it, your Luwali's quite OP. Let me just get rid of that.
Well, I think it was just the acceptance that when you're running Turbo on Grandpa and Turbo on Luwali, and they're both turboing each other, and it's +4. Oh, I don't want to fight that, you know?
Oh, quadruple tank again with the Wolfie instead of the Kinu this time. So, interesting stuff here. Turok picked up, so it looks like we'll have a bit of a run back, except there is more damage on the Faiman side, and there is no Luwali for that double wind buff on the side of Rgisosceles. Will he close this out, or will Faiman force a game 3? Let's find out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to do now as well with the Wolfie. Rgisosceles doesn't have any melees, any fires, not even any... Oh, he does have Calibus, but Calibus doesn't really want to fight a Wolfie all that often. But yeah, he doesn't have any really effective damage to throw towards that Wolfie for the easy kill. But he does decide to protect Gramps, doesn't want to take double in damage early on, swaps Calibus in. Water Cutting Lily coming his way with that toxic typing. It's not going to be that detrimental. And Toxic Skin, Cerny feels the pain for the next 2 turns along with a snare. So is that likely... I mean, was that Sweatband? What did Cerny just lose?
I don't remember. I probably should have noted that. But regardless, the snare catches it. Handcuffs will be applied. Also, the Calibus is forced in, rather. But of course, without Botanophobia, it just takes direct damage. Shout out to Crema for finally getting rid of that. Thank you. Elvis is not viable. But now, with Toxic Ink available, and of course Strangle, such a big player as well, might come out here.
Yeah, I mean, now both Wolfie and Cerny don't want to take any toxic hits. You know, we don't know if this Calibus was built full on tanky or if it has some of that attack investment. It did take those the Plague and Water Cutting Lily pretty well, but still, I mean, I think if it was full on tank mode, it would have taken it better. So Faiman does have potential attack investment coming his way with the toxic typing. I mean, Cerny already poisoned Wolfie, potentially going to be poisoned if he decides to stay in. And Kinu, I mean, potentially with a free Revitalize?
I would say so, yeah. Revitalizes, I would dare say, free here. I mean, the damage isn't dropping Calibus below 50%, so another double up of that won't be devastating. And of course, if you let the Calibus get a Toxic Ink off, that's going to sting. Beta Burst actually, instead of Revitalize, will be the choice here. Wolfie will take that, and the Plague does come out. So Calibus will take a little bit more damage here. WCL does not come out. Revitalize instead to heal up the Wolfie and the Cerny as well. But of course, now Toxic Ink as well. Gonna shred through that HP a little bit more. But Rgisosceles playing the slow game is not favored to win this. In terms of, at least the slow game, right? Because Faiman, I do think he has just way too much regeneration and defensive buffs to the point where Rgisosceles, if he plays it slow, I don't think he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I mean, now Wolfie and Cerny, we all remember the Salad Stall days. These two are the best of friends, and this is why Cerny's Bush, he does get that synergy, he gets evasion, he gets regeneration, +2 defense, knocks off the toxic ticks. Revitalize does come through for Kinu, but the double bush.
Hilarious.
I mean, let's see if it was red. Let's see what Calibus decides to do with the toxic ink, potentially not reading. Double bush coming through, but I mean, also he did snare what we believe was Sweatband on Cerny, which means he's not able to use Water Cutting Lily. He's not really able to do a lot of these bulky techniques that Cerny needs to use in order to survive to turn 30.
Yeah, unfortunately now Toxic Ink going to hurt a little bit. Either one taking it will be detrimental. It's surprised. I mean, I'm interested to see if Rgisosceles has Stonewall, because if Stonewall Kinu was available, you make this Calibus 9 indestructible, and suddenly you're forced to swap into Saku, and then you lose this combo that you're sort of building up, and the Calibus, he gets a free Toxic Ink off.
Yeah, I mean, that would be very nice. We don't know if he's running Stonewall just because he has that turbo, trying to go for the speed instead of bulk potentially, but it is Calibus now on Faiman's side, and Wolfie swapping out as well for this Corrin. I don't know if I love that, but Isosceles brings Gramps in as well. Potentially a very nice read, putting that pressure right back on Calibus. Turbo choreography, Gramps plus
here we go.
Speed already. Kinu does have to overexert for it, but that was absolutely worth it.
I mean, bring the San Andreas memes, right? Ah, shit. Here we go again. The grandpa, he's gonna get there. The question is if Faiman will be able to stop it, or if Rgisosceles gets there fast enough, right? Because the only way he turbos now is if Turok swaps in. And Turok will not have fun against Calibus. As long as it has Ice Stalactite, it will not be very fun. But besides that, actually Turok is fine here.
Yeah, I mean, Turok doesn't quite mind either Calibus or Corrin. Kinu, I mean, with that overexertion, you may as well swap it out for something. This could, I mean, I think Turok, I think maybe Calibus again, maybe even the Momo, but it is Turok coming through, resisting Earth, resisting, or I'm sorry, not resisting Earth. But yeah, Turbo +4 Grandpa now. Aquastone though coming through to the Turok, a good read, 45%, then the Stone Ball, and Turok 26% just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Turok punished for coming in, but that's not what he came in here for. He came in to make sure Grandpa gets to Super Saiyan levels, and the HKS now gonna do triple damage, or at least on the speed half of that calculation. Turok, of course, also here for moral support, that the Gatling could be proven effective here. Now the question is, will Faiman swap in Saku here for the Calibus? Read that correctly, or is Karen taking this attack? That's the question. I'm sure Faiman is trying to figure out here. If Calibus stays in, it is staying in. HPS gonna chop this man in half. We're gonna have Octopus Squid tonight, baby. Picks off the Calibus, instantly shut down. The Noxious Bomb not even necessary. Karen takes that for half damage, and Turok will be traded here for Earth Wave, thrown down. But no, it's not even enough damage. Koron, or Kauren, however you want to say it, just didn't do enough damage.
Yeah, and I mean, judging from the Noxious Bomb, it looks like Isosceles was expecting anyone else to swap in, as he does. Faiman has 3 other Nature Tems that could have come into that place, all of which would have not taken a Noxious Bomb as well. So maybe Faiman reading the read of a read and leaving Corrin in to take it. But he doesn't do enough damage to bring Turok down just yet. Potentially another attack coming through because of that turbo choreography earlier on, but it is another Kinu buff. Gramps the tank, Gramps the Demon Slayer.
Gramps, the monster with the HKS, he cuts you in half and he serves you to his friends. Hypnosis will be thrown out, so the Cerny is not even able to stop this contention. The Kinu buff applied, and this is so scary because the Saku, yeah, you got spores, but how are you gonna deal with Momo? How are you gonna deal with the Calibus? I mean, Saku maybe with the wind bursts, but specifically Momo, right? Undermine's going to hurt, and Saku can't really defend itself except for Bark Shield, but Bark, speaking of which, removes that. So there's a lot of weaknesses here. We'll see where it goes. Saku does only take 11% damage, but the Bait Burst will follow as well. The Bully buff fully active right now, so only 25%. Actually, that's healable, but revitalized, so definitely not as much damage as you would hope. But of course, speaking of damage, Grandpa HKS now online. Special defense up on Cerneef, though. It's not going to be the same story. The Cerneef is not going to die that easily. It's not going to go out that outright. HKS does come out still, though. Goes in for the kill. Will not do so. Not quite. 40% damage, or 30% damage, rather. Drops it below 50%. Too bad. Revitalize says, no thank you. I'll just heal that back up. Saku goes to full. And Talking Spores as well, gonna be thrown out. Faiman trying to apply the strategy. Now both of these temps on the side of Rgisosceles out of stamina. The Gramps Sweatband gives it a bit more leeway.
Yeah, I mean, Gramps is able to keep on attacking, and maybe Kinu here as well. I mean, Gramps does still have one more turn of the Toxic Tick, so Spores can't come out right now. Kinu could potentially rest, revitalize, sacrifice. Bring Gramps up even more. I mean, we saw the early Kinu sacrifice before. Who's saying we won't see it again soon, but it is Momo coming on out, wants to get his Undermine ready to go, and Faiman retreats Saku for the Korin.
Korin comes in. Oh, Hypnosis comes out again. And it goes on the Korin, as you mentioned. Was meant to be the Saku, but Bush comes out. The special defense raise. He says, HKS won't kill me. But, you know, I mean, I'm sure Rgisosceles knows that, and this is what Momo is for. Undermine is full attack, baby. Is going to hurt. 145 times 1.75. Oh boy.
Yeah, the Cerneef does have +4 special defense, so it does make it a little bit more tolerable, especially considering Bush Revitalize, Bush Revitalize, Bush Revitalize. Cerneef can pretty much take anything.
Math is hard. So, 2.25 damage here. So the Momo Undermine is so devastating here. The Cerneef has to leave. It has to. It cannot afford to take this hit. It's the Chosen One. If the Chosen One goes down, your investment goes away with it. But this is so hard. The Momo has to get this off. HKS into main. I mean, does HKS Undermine kill? That's a big question, isn't it?
HKS Undermine on the Cerneef, it really depends on what Undermine is able to do. I mean, we're at about 70%. If it can knock him down 30 or 40, HKS can probably, I don't know, HKS can probably only do 15 now with this +4. Because +4, I mean, it's essentially null and void, right? So Gramps is, it hits HKS on everything else very hard, but not as much on Cerneef. I think maybe targeting this sleeping core and, believe it or not, try to take it out with HKS Undermine and then, I mean, just target the other spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you let Kaurin, if you kill Kaurin here though, that means you get a free swap in for the Wolfie or the Saku, and I feel like that's also a problem. Right now, there's a Grandpa. So the Grandpa will be swapped out here for Rgisosceles. Thinks the HKS will not do enough damage, rightfully so. Calibus will be coming in instead. And the Bard comes out, setting up for it though, reducing the special defense and the defense. Revitalize will heal up the Cerny. He's trying to hold out for the Storm. And again, just being very careful here. But now Undermine does an extra 50% damage. And now with Toxic Ink as well. This Cerny has to get the hell out of Dodge. Surely, I mean, I've been mentioning it, but surely it has to, right? There's no way it stays in to take a Toxic Ink and an Undermine. Unless Bush holds everything here.
Yeah, I mean, Cerny, it was able to use 2 bushes with synergy, get the special defense up, but physical defense is -1. Toxic Ink effective damage would do quite a lot. You know, we haven't seen any Bark Shields from Saku just yet to try and protect Cerny from the physical department. But now also Corrin is awake, Corrin is alerted, and Corrin is angry that he was put to sleep preemptively. He wanted to get something done. I mean, Faiman's going for attacks this turn, but Undermine towards the Cerny.
Oh my god!
Doesn't really
it's not even close.
do anything. Yeah, that was
absolutely
30%.
Not even close.
Toxic Ink though does so much more.
Oh, Toxic. Yeah, as you mentioned, Toxic Ink does way more damage. The special defense is way too high. Front Whip goes in to slash out the Momo. The Stone Bowl as well, just trying to kill it off ASAP, and it does do so. Momo is dead and will be going down. Rgsosceles, the Scavenger on the Corrin procs there this time. Cerny has Bush though, so it's going to live unless the Grandpa can say anything about it. And Faiman actually kind of forced to attempt to Bush, but Windburst is going to make sure that's never going to happen.
Yeah, Grandpa with +4 speed will absolutely go first, but he has to be able to kill. Windburst, is that going to be enough? I mean, it is +3 special defense. We might see a Cerny with 1 HP push itself, get the Toxic Tick off. That would be best case scenario for Faiman, because he absolutely cannot swap it out. He needs to try and save it if possible. But this is a very difficult situation. It might just be Saku left to tank the rest of it.
Now, I mean, the Corrin is proving to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it needed to be against something that took on it fully. But look at the rest of the board. This Corrin, I'm not sure how much it can really do. Everything takes half damage. Earthquake's not going to be enough. HPS is going to make sure that the Cerny is dead. He doesn't even decide to use Hypnosis here. Just says, I will make sure that you're dead. Willpower Drain takes the stamina out of the Calibus. Perfectly reasonable choice here, but the Ice Stalactite doing some solid work. Definitely not too much. Overexerting, actually. Calibus, that's quite big. Because now Saku, most likely the option here for Faiman. And then it'll be the Saku versus 4 Temtem.
Yeah, and I mean, Saku, he does have Wind type of his own, so he's not going to be all that weak to Gramps. I mean, it's a lot going to be up to this Calibus. Turok is too low. Kinu can't really get the job done. And Calibus overexerted because of that willpower drain. And even this turn, Gramps doesn't have his HKS as he used it to confirm the Cerny kill. See, this is definitely a complicated situation, but Gramps goes for the Hypnosis on Saku. Says, I don't want to take those toxic spores right now. Stone Bowl for this Calibus is not going to do very much at all. Iron Coating even on Corrin still doesn't accomplish very much, and the Toxic Skin does hurt Corrin for hurting Calibus.
Exactly. And the biggest thing to note is that Calibus always goes last, so you can technically actually throw a Toxic Ink, and Saku will always make a move after, unless you play something slow like a Bark Shield, I guess. But yeah, like, exactly, Saku gets woken up, but you can essentially just get a free Toxic Ink off there. And now HKS well, sorry, HKS was used, I believe, so not here, but this trade is not favorable. Faiman down to the last 2 Tems, and if the Wolfie goes down, Saku will have so many problems. There's still 4 Tems on the side of RG, and the Turok can be sacked here.
Yeah, I mean, Turok absolutely can be sacked for this Calibus. Let it go back, let it regain some stamina, and Hypnosis on Wolfie? I mean, then Gramps is going to take Toxic Spores. Yes, Hypnosis comes through. Wolfie takes a nap. HKS will be coming your way later on, little friend. Lifeful Sap for the Saku, though. Says he wants to try and heal some of that back up. He's not going to poison just yet. And I think that's the right play. He needs to get his health under control if he wants this Saku to try and tank anything. Next up has got to be that Bark Shield, right?
Nah, Toxic Ink into HKS. It's gonna do half damage, sure. But, I mean, it's a Grandpa, so no, Calibus will be swapped out here. Doesn't want to lose that to a strike, and the Kinu gonna bolster the Grandpa's defenses a little bit more. Remember, Sacrifice still on the menu. He could just one-shot the Wolfie here as well, and that should be more than enough, and it will do so. The Wolfie will be dead secured, and now it's just Saku. I mean, we've seen Saku win 1v4s before, but I don't think this is no, it's just not enough. Not even Tornado is killing Kinu, and it reveals that you don't actually have damage on the Saku. It's just not enough. I don't think you managed to hold this. Faiman fighting on for at least a shot here, but the Kinu Grandpa can just stay on the board here. Hypnosis into Beta Burst. That'll be way too much.
Yeah, so I mean, now Kinu can just revitalize, right? Like, he still has, or Rgisosceles still has some regeneration abilities of his own. He could even swap out, bring the Turok in for Gramps, revitalize himself with the Kinu, and just kind of almost screw around a little bit just to preserve his stamina, get his health back up to a safe place, so that even if this does go the distance, if he's not able to take everything down, yeah, even if he's not able to bring the Saku down, if we hit turn 30, 4 Tems is 4 Tems, and that's more than one in every single way.
Yeah, right now there's 11 turns to kill the Saku. The question is, are 11 turns enough? Calibus comes in.
I mean, if anyone's gonna do it, it's Calibus.
Turbo choreography gets buffed. He wants Calibus to go faster than Tornado. That'll take quite a while, but if that comes down to it, absolutely it'll be enough here.
Yeah, that might be. I don't know if that's really a doable thing, is it? Because even though Saku's not the fastest Tem, Tornado with the priority, I mean, Calibus is a very slow Tem. He does.
Oh, removes regeneration as well. That is so unfortunate. 6 spores. Go now.
Yeah, Toxic Spores onto the Kinu. It does survive for one more turn if Saku doesn't attack it. But it does. It goes for this sacrifice on the Calibus. It's not even going to revitalize again. It gives its life for the cause, making Calibus a tank. And now Saku, poor Saku, Lifeful Sap once again. But it's down to 7.8%, and I don't think there's anything it can do. Now 17, but it's still, that's gotta be GG.
The lack of damage for Faiman takes its toll, and he concedes. Rgisosceles will take...